Personal story segment tonight, another airline horror story. Sunday night, Chicago to Louisville, overbooked. United Airlines offers money to folks to give up their seats. No takers. Then the cops come on board and remove a guy by force.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. No. Oh, my God. My God. What are you doing? No, this is wrong. Oh, my God. Look at what you did to them. Oh, my God.
Joining us, I shouldn't be laughing, but it's just so bizarre. Joining us from the Fox Newsroom here in the building in New York, Fox News correspondent Rob Schmidt. So why did that guy, after all, 100 people on the plane, more than that, why did they pick that guy to drag him off?
Well, they picked 4 people, and they say it's a random selection, Bill, is how it works. But, you know, just to elaborate a little bit on what's going to be, no doubt, a PR disaster for United Airlines. I mean, that video, it's just shocking when you see it. This is a paying customer on United Airlines, and they overbook them, and the airlines are allowed to overbook these flights. They do it so that they can get them as full as they can to make as much money as they can, and they're legally allowed to do so. But they offer that money, like you said, they start with like a couple $100, and they raise it all the way up to about $800, which is what they did on this flight. If they get no takers at that point, they don't want to pay any more money, so they just randomly select people to get off the flight.
Well, what do you mean randomly select? Do they put the seat number in a hat?
I guess that's what they say. They say it's a random selection.
So they don't explain. We don't know how this guy got picked out of all of the people on there. There were from what I understand, there were 4 people that got booted off. 3 of them walked off the plane, okay?
3 got off.
But this guy wouldn't, so the police come on and they drag him off in this crazy scene.
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't know what the random seat number or whatever, why these people were picked. United Airlines hasn't explained that.
They haven't explained that yet. Right now, they're probably trying to figure out how in the world they're going to deal with this situation, because this video is absolutely ridiculous to watch.
Right.
But they say it's a random thing. This guy didn't want to get off the plane. The passengers on the plane that posted the video said he was a doctor, that he needed to get back.
I mean, look, nobody wants to, you know, he'd have to stay. He would have had to stay overnight in Chicago. He absolutely might have had commitments to his family or to
his patients.
Right. But, all right, it's a confusing situation because we don't know what the criteria are to remove people from the plane when it's overbooked and nobody volunteers.
But the interesting thing is that they offered, what, $800? I mean, at some point, somebody's going to take that money. So you get up to $1,500, $2,000.
Nobody wanted to stay in Chicago overnight.
Somebody would have stayed for some amount of money. It would have been a lot easier than this.
Yeah,
you have to agree
a couple of grand maybe, but all right. All right, Rob, thank you. And joining us now from Sarasota, Florida, Paul Hudson, president of FlyersRights.org. Do you know what the random thing is, how they get a seat number to remove somebody if they can't get volunteers?
Well, there have been reports that they base it on whether you're a late flyer or the order that people checked in for the flight.
So if you're last, you get booted?
Well, that's speculation, because the airlines essentially have carte blanche to do this. And I'm not sure whether this flight was overbooked. It appears that it was full, and then they needed to ferry some crew members, and they didn't have any seats because they'd fully booked it, and so they threw off some passengers.
All right, so they had to get
it's obviously wrong what happened.
Right, they had to get some United Airline personnel from Chicago to Louisville for, you know, probably another flight or whatever. They had to get them there, and so they asked for volunteers, and obviously this guy didn't volunteer. But federal law gives the airlines almost complete power over the consumer, even if you buy a ticket. Isn't that correct?
They do. And most people don't realize that when you get on an airplane, you give up many of your constitutional rights. You have to obey the requests of the flight crew, and then you can file your complaints and your claims after the fact. However, here it was so extreme, and whether excessive force was used by the police, I don't make a judge of that, but this is way beyond anything that should happen.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Had many ways to get around this.
All right, we'll get to that in a moment, but have you ever seen anything like this before? I never saw anything like that before.
Not for a simple overbooking situation.
Yeah,
no.
I've never seen it. Okay, so you say that something else could have happened to avoid the guy being dragged and we're seeing his stomach. And I don't want to see the video again. Now, we don't have to show us. We got it. Everybody's got it. What would it have been to mitigate the circumstance and not use the police and force?
Well, number one, they should have offered more money. The maximum compensation for domestic is $1,350, and airlines are typically offering vouchers. They're not even offering cash. If you're involuntarily forced to get off, you can get up to $1,350 in a domestic flight and up to over $5,000 if it's on an international trip. That's one thing.
All right, so they could have offered money. The guy would have had to stay overnight at O'Hare Airport. They would have put him up in a hotel, I understand, right?
Yes, they could have asked other passengers. They also could have given the man a written warning and also a written statement of what his options and what his rights were. We've asked for this for many years now, but the airlines do not want to often divulge what your true options or rights are, and then they don't want to give you a warning. In many cases, they're very quick to pull the trigger and call the police.
All right. Well, I think the laws are going to have to be changed, and you can't have this stuff. It looks like a police state. All right, Mr. Hudson, thank you very much.